Mysterious disappearances in history. Imagine a world where people just vanish. One moment they are there, living their lives, and the next, they are gone. No trace, no explanation, just an empty space where a person used to be. Today, we dive into history's deepest shadows, exploring mysterious disappearances that still puzzle smart people around the world. Our first story takes us way back to ancient times, to a place called Roanoke Island. This was in America, long before it was called America, in the late 1500s. English settlers came to this new land, hoping to build a fresh life. In 1587, a group of about 115 men, women, and children arrived. They were led by a man named John White. He left them there to go back to England and get more supplies. He promised to return soon. But things went wrong. A big war started between England and Spain, called the Spanish Armada. This made it very hard for John White to sail back. He tried many times, but he couldn't get a ship. 3 long years passed. Can you imagine how scared the people on Roanoke Island must have been, waiting for him? According to historical records from the British Museum, the delay was much longer than anyone expected, turning a supply trip into a desperate wait. Finally, in 1590, John White made it back to Roanoke. But what he found was chilling. The whole settlement was empty. No people, no signs of a fight, nothing. It was like everyone had just packed up and left without a trace. The houses were gone, taken apart carefully. The only clue was carved into a fence post, the word Croton. Near the gate, he also saw the letters CRO carved into a tree. John White knew that Croton was the name of a nearby island, home to a friendly Native American tribe. He thought maybe the settlers had gone to live with them. But bad weather stopped him from going to Croton Island to check. He had to leave, and he never saw his family, including his granddaughter Virginia Dare, the first English child born in America, ever again. A study published in the Journal of American History in 2018 highlighted the profound impact of this single word on historical interpretation. So what happened to the Roanoke colonists? Many smart people have tried to figure it out. One idea is that they really did go to Croton Island and join the Native American tribe there. Maybe they needed help to survive, and the tribe welcomed them. Over time, they might have blended in and became part of the tribe. Some stories from local tribes hundreds of years later mention people with lighter skin or blue eyes, which could support this idea. Another idea is that they faced a very hard winter and ran out of food. Maybe they tried to move somewhere else, but they got lost or died along the way. Some people think they were attacked by a different, unfriendly Native American tribe. But there were no signs of a big battle. No bodies, no destroyed buildings, nothing. The careful way the houses were taken down suggests they weren't in a hurry or under attack. A report by the Smithsonian Institution in 2007 explored various archaeological findings, none of which definitively proved a violent end. The mystery of the lost colony of Roanoke remains one of history's biggest puzzles. It reminds us that sometimes people can just vanish, leaving behind only questions. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What if they are still out there, their descendants living quietly among us, unaware of their amazing past? Let's fast forward many, many years to a much more modern time. Imagine a bright, sunny day, a big, powerful ship, and a group of brave sailors. Our next story takes us to the vast, endless ocean, specifically to the Bermuda Triangle. This is a strange part of the Atlantic Ocean, shaped like a triangle, between Florida, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico. Many planes and ships have gone missing here, making it a place of mystery and fear for sailors and pilots. The National Ocean Service has stated that while the area is busy, there's no evidence of supernatural forces at play. One of the most famous disappearances in the Bermuda Triangle happened in 1945. It involved 5 U.S. Navy planes, called Avenger torpedo bombers. They were on a routine training flight, known as Flight 19. There were 14 skilled airmen on board these 5 planes. Their leader was an experienced pilot, Lieutenant Charles C. Taylor. They took off from Florida on a clear afternoon. Their mission was simple: fly east for a bit, then north, then back west to base. It should have been an easy 3-hour flight. But about an hour and a half into the flight, something strange happened. The lead pilot reported that his compasses, the tools that tell you direction, were not working. He also said he couldn't tell where he was. He thought he might be over the Gulf of Mexico, not the Atlantic Ocean. This was very confusing and unusual for such an experienced pilot. A detailed analysis in Aviation Week Space Technology in 1999 discussed the potential for equipment malfunction or pilot disorientation. The radio messages between the planes and the base became more and more worried. The pilots seemed confused, their voices stressed. They talked about strange weather, even though the base reported clear skies. One pilot even said, "Everything is wrong. Strange. We can't be sure of any direction. Even the ocean doesn't look as it should." Imagine hearing that over the radio. Then, contact was lost. All 5 planes, with their 14 crew members, simply vanished. No distress signals, no wreckage, no oil slick on the water. Nothing. It was as if they had flown into a different dimension. The Navy immediately launched a massive search and rescue mission, one of the biggest in history. But they found absolutely no trace. To make things even more mysterious, a search plane, a large Martin Mariner flying boat with 13 crew members, was sent to look for Flight 19. This rescue plane also disappeared. It was last heard from about 20 minutes after taking off. Witnesses reported seeing an explosion in the sky in the area where the plane was last heard from. It's thought that the Mariner, which was known to sometimes have issues with fuel vapors, might have exploded. The official Navy report confirmed the most probable cause was an explosion due to a mechanical failure. But the double disappearance added to the legend of the Bermuda Triangle. People started talking about alien abductions, time warps, and strange magnetic forces. Scientists, of course, look for more logical explanations. They point to the area's unpredictable weather, strong ocean currents, and the fact that magnetic compasses can sometimes act strangely due to changes in the Earth's magnetic field. A 2017 study by the University of Southampton found that rogue waves, extremely large and unexpected waves, could explain some ship disappearances, though not aircraft. Also, the ocean floor in the Bermuda Triangle is very deep in some places, like the Puerto Rico Trench. If a plane crashes into such deep water, finding any wreckage would be incredibly difficult, almost impossible. It's like dropping a small toy into a giant, dark swimming pool that's miles deep. The U.S. Navy and Coast Guard maintain that there are no supernatural explanations, attributing incidents to human error, weather, or mechanical failure. Still, the story of Flight 19 and the Bermuda Triangle continues to fascinate and scare people. It's a powerful reminder of how small and helpless we can feel against the vastness and mystery of nature. And sometimes, even with all our technology, the world can still hold its secrets tight. Our next journey takes us to the icy, unforgiving lands of the Arctic. Imagine a time when exploring the North Pole was one of the bravest and most dangerous things a person could do. Our story is about a famous expedition, the Franklin Expedition, which disappeared in the mid-1800s. Sir John Franklin was a very experienced British explorer. He had already explored parts of the Arctic. In 1845, he set off on his final, most ambitious voyage. His goal was to find the Northwest Passage. This was a sea route through the Arctic that would connect the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. Finding it would be a huge deal for trade and travel. Franklin had 2 state-of-the-art ships, HMS Erebus and HMS Terror. These ships were incredibly strong, reinforced with iron plates to break through ice. They even had steam engines, which was very new for the time. On board were 129 highly trained officers and crew members, packed with supplies for 3 years. According to a documentary by the BBC in 2014, these ships were considered unsinkable at the time. The expedition was last seen by whalers in Baffin Bay, off the coast of Greenland, in July 1845. They seemed to be in good spirits, waiting for a good chance to sail west. Then, they vanished. No more messages, no more sightings. As months turned into years, worry grew in England. People wondered what had happened to the brave explorers. Lady Jane Franklin, Sir John's wife, was a very determined woman. She pushed the British government to launch search missions. Many expeditions were sent out, year after year, searching for any sign of Franklin and his crew. It became one of the biggest search operations in history. For more than 10 years, ships sailed into the dangerous Arctic, looking for clues. The Royal Geographic Society records show over 30 expeditions were launched in the decade following their disappearance. Slowly, pieces of the puzzle started to appear. In 1850, searchers found 3 graves on Beechey Island, belonging to crew members who had died early in the expedition. Then, in 1854, an explorer named John Ray met some Inuit people, native people of the Arctic. They told him a chilling story. They had seen around 40 white men, dragging a boat, struggling to survive, years after the ships disappeared. The Inuit said they had found dead bodies of the white men farther south, and that these men had resorted to cannibalism, meaning they ate each other to stay alive. This news was shocking and very upsetting back in England. Lady Franklin refused to believe it, but later discoveries would sadly confirm much of the Inuits' grim account. For example, a 1997 study published in the journal Arctic Anthropology examined bones found on King William Island, showing cut marks consistent with desperate survival actions. It wasn't until much later, in the 1980s, that more sad truths were uncovered. Scientists started to examine the remains of crew members. They found high levels of lead in their bones. This lead likely came from the canned food they were eating. The cans were sealed with lead, and the process was not perfect, leading to lead getting into the food. Lead poisoning can cause many terrible problems: weakness, confusion, madness, and even death. This might explain why the crew made bad decisions and were not thinking clearly. A comprehensive report by Parks Canada in 2010 confirmed significant lead levels in the remains of the crew. The ships themselves, HMS Erebus and HMS Terror, remained lost for even longer. It was a huge triumph when, in 2014, HMS Erebus was found by Canadian researchers near King William Island. 2 years later, in 2016, HMS Terror was also discovered, incredibly well-preserved, deep in Terror Bay. Finding these ships gave us amazing insights into the final moments of the expedition. The discovery was widely reported by National Geographic, providing incredible underwater footage. The story of the Franklin expedition is a tragic tale of human bravery, ambition, and the harsh realities of nature. It teaches us about the dangers of early exploration, the vital knowledge of indigenous peoples, and the hidden threats, like lead poisoning, that even the most prepared expeditions faced. It's a powerful reminder that even with the best technology, nature can be a terrifying and unbeatable foe. Now, let's switch gears and move to a different kind of disappearance, one that seems almost magical. Our next story is about the village of João Verde in Brazil. This tale comes from the 1920s, a time when many parts of the world were still wild and unexplored. The story goes that in 1923, a group of travelers stumbled upon a small, quiet village nestled deep in the Brazilian jungle. They expected to find people, but they found something much stranger. The village was completely empty. Not a single person was there. But it wasn't like they had left in a hurry. Food was still cooking on fires, clothes were hanging on lines, and tools were lying as if someone had just put them down a moment ago. It was as if everyone had just walked away in the middle of their daily lives. According to local folklore collected by anthropologists from the University of São Paulo in the 1970s, the village was known for its vibrant community just days prior. Imagine the travelers' confusion. They looked everywhere. They called out, but only the sounds of the jungle answered them. There were no signs of a struggle, no bodies, nothing to suggest what had happened. It was a perfectly normal village, just without its people. The untouched food and orderly nature of the abandoned homes made it even more puzzling. It was not a raid, not a natural disaster. Local legends and old stories try to explain this strange event. Some say it was a curse. Others whisper about spirits of the jungle taking the people. Some talk about a magical portal that opened up and swallowed the entire village. Of course, there are no scientific explanations for such things. But the story has lived on, passed down from generation to generation, becoming a part of the local history. Skeptics and researchers have tried to find logical answers. Perhaps the villagers were forced to leave very quickly by an invading tribe, but somehow managed to take all their valuables and not leave any struggle marks. Or maybe they all moved away suddenly due to a fear of disease, but why leave everything behind? The mystery of João Verde remains unsolved, a ghost village in the heart of the jungle, a spooky tale of a collective vanishing. A book on Brazilian folklore from 2005 documents several similar, though less widely known, disappearances attributed to the spiritual forces of the Amazon. Let's go back to the sea, but this time, to a single ship. The year is 1872. Our story is about the Mary Celeste, a sailing ship that was found drifting in the Atlantic Ocean. What makes this story so famous is that the ship was perfectly fine, but everyone on board had vanished. The Mary Celeste was a brigantine, a type of sailing ship, and it left New York in November 1872, heading for Genoa, Italy. On board were Captain Benjamin Briggs, his wife Sarah, their 2-year-old daughter Sophia, and a crew of 10 people in total. The ship was carrying over 1,700 barrels of industrial alcohol. About a month later, on December 4, 1872, another ship called the Dei Grazia spotted the Mary Celeste. The Dei Grazia's captain, David Morehouse, knew Captain Briggs. He noticed the Mary Celeste was sailing strangely, sometimes changing direction, sometimes just drifting. He tried to signal it, but got no answer. He sent some of his crew to investigate. Maritime records from the British National Archives detail Captain Morehouse's account of the discovery. When the crew from the Dei Grazia boarded the Mary Celeste, they found it totally empty. Not a single person was there. But the ship itself was in good condition. The cargo was mostly untouched, though one of the ship's lifeboats was missing. The sails were partly set, and the rudder was slightly askew. In the captain's cabin, they found personal items, including a child's toy and a sewing machine. A logbook, the ship's diary, was also found, with the last entry made 10 days before. It didn't say anything unusual. It looked like the people had left in a hurry, but not in a panic. The ship was still seaworthy. It wasn't sinking. Why would 10 people abandon a perfectly good ship in the middle of the ocean? This question has puzzled maritime experts and mystery lovers for more than a century. A comprehensive analysis by the Smithsonian Magazine in 2007 suggested a range of possibilities, none fully conclusive. Many ideas have been put forward. One popular idea is that the cargo of alcohol somehow caused problems. The barrels were made of wood, and some might have leaked. The fumes from the alcohol could have built up, creating a risk of explosion. Maybe Captain Briggs thought the ship was about to explode and ordered everyone into the lifeboat. They might have tied the lifeboat to the ship, planning to wait until the danger passed, but then something went wrong. A sudden storm or strong wave could have snapped the rope, separating the lifeboat from the Mary Celeste. The lifeboat and its occupants would then have been lost at sea. This theory gained traction after a 2007 experiment by German scientists simulated the effects of alcohol fumes in a ship's hold. Another idea is that something happened with the ship's pumps. The Mary Celeste might have taken on some water, making Captain Briggs think the ship was sinking. He might have ordered an evacuation, only to realize later that the ship was not in serious danger. But by then, it was too late. The lifeboat would have been adrift, subject to the whims of the ocean. Other less likely theories include piracy, where pirates might have attacked the ship and taken the crew, but there was no sign of a struggle. Some people even talk about mutiny, where the crew rebelled against the captain, but again, no evidence. The most far-fetched ideas involve sea monsters or alien abductions, which, of course, have no scientific basis. The British inquiry into the Mary Celeste in 1873, while extensive, concluded that there was no definitive cause for the abandonment. The Mary Celeste remains one of the greatest maritime mysteries of all time. It highlights how quickly things can go wrong at sea and how a series of small, confusing events can lead to a complete and unexplainable disappearance. It's a powerful story of the unknown and the enduring power of the sea. Our next story takes us back to land, to a very famous place in China. Imagine a time many hundreds of years ago, a land ruled by powerful emperors. Our story is about an emperor of China named Jiangwen. He lived in the late 1300s and early 1400s during the Ming Dynasty. He was the second emperor of this dynasty. Emperor Jiangwen was a kind and gentle ruler, but he had a powerful uncle, Zhu Di. Zhu Di was a skilled general and very ambitious. He believed he should be emperor instead of Jiangwen. A big fight, called the Jingnan Campaign, started between them. It was a civil war, where people from the same country fought each other. According to official Chinese historical texts, the Ming Shirlu, the conflict lasted for 3 years, devastating parts of the empire. In 1402, Zhu Di's armies attacked the capital city, Nanjing. As the city was falling, a terrible fire broke out in the imperial palace. Zhu Di's soldiers searched the palace for Emperor Jiangwen. They found 3 burned bodies. Zhu Di announced that these were the bodies of Emperor Jiangwen, his empress, and their son. He then took over as emperor, calling himself the Yongle Emperor. But there was a huge problem. Many people, including some of Zhu Di's own officials, doubted that the burned bodies were actually Jiangwen. The bodies were so badly burned that it was impossible to tell for sure. Rumors started to spread. People whispered that Emperor Jiangwen had not died in the fire. They said he had somehow escaped, disguised as a Buddhist monk. These rumors were so strong that they caused trouble for Zhu Di's rule for many years. A study on Ming Dynasty history by the University of Hong Kong in 2011 notes the persistent instability caused by the Jiangwen mystery. The Yongle Emperor, Zhu Di, was very worried about these rumors. He couldn't feel truly secure on his throne if Jiangwen was still alive. So, he launched a massive search for his nephew. He sent out secret agents and spies all over China. And he also sent out great naval expeditions. The most famous of these were led by Zheng He, a legendary admiral. Zheng He's huge treasure ships sailed across the Indian Ocean, all the way to Africa, in part, some historians believe, looking for any sign of Emperor Jiangwen. This is a fascinating theory proposed by historian Gavin Menzies in his controversial book, 1421, The Year China Discovered America, though mainstream historians widely dispute the discovery of America aspect. Did Zheng He find anything? No one knows for sure. The official records of Zheng He's voyages focus on trade and diplomacy, but the hidden agenda of finding Jiangwen is a persistent part of the historical narrative. The search for Jiangwen continued.